Hello everyone, welcome to Barca News. It is February 23rd, 2025, and Javier Tebas has discussed Barcelona yet once again because that's all he does. But in the process, he has blasted Real Madrid. Also, Robert Lewandowski has sealed his automatic renewal. And finally, an agreement has been reached for the transfer of Vitor Roque. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Mo and we'll begin this video with the news that La Liga's president Javier Tebas has once again questioned the VIPC deal that Barcelona signed this past December in order to achieve the 1-to-1 rule, where Joan Laporta sold the rights to the VIPCs at the new Spotify Camp Nou to two investors out of the Middle East in exchange for 100 million euros, again to achieve the 1-to-1 rule and to be able to register both Dani Olmo and Pau Victor. Now, as reported in previous videos, Javier Tebas has put this deal or has questioned this deal as being a dubious deal. And well, once again, La Liga's president has spoken about why he thinks that there's something not right about this VIP deal. Now, Tebas says this issue must be clarified well. FC Barcelona appealed to the internal bodies of La Liga because we had denied them or put a very high guarantee in those contracts. They had to advance 40% of the contracts in cash. In the internal appeals filed by Barcelona, La Liga's Economic Control Committee applied the validation rule and found that one of the companies involved had a share capital of only 3,000 euros and was run by an unknown person with several businesses of dubious origin. All this was already in the writings we presented. This partnership had a relationship with Barca since May 2024, so it is not something new. We have transferred this information to our internal bodies and to the CSD in our written submissions. We are not doing anything special with the CSD. This is part of our normal process. So Javier Tebas explaining two things. The first thing is that the reason they requested the guarantee, as you might recall, Barcelona closed this VIP deal before the December 31st deadline. They presented all the paperwork, but La Liga did not approve it. They said instead they wanted, an advance, a cash advance from this deal, and then Barcelona were able to obtain this advance, but by then it was past the December 31st deadline, so that's why Pau Victor and Dani Olmo were deregistered. So here, Javier Tebas explaining that that is actually part of the new rules, that, these rules apply to everyone, that this wasn't something special aimed at Barcelona. And the second thing, explaining that this VIP deal is somewhat dubious because it comes from a company that only has 3,000 euros in assets, and that the person who owns this company has quote-unquote dubious businesses. Now, again, we don't know what's going on here. We only have the side of La Liga. Barcelona have not explained anything. Barcelona don't even want to tell us who these companies are. So I think we are owed an explanation because, again, right now we only have La Liga's version. So what is Barcelona's version? Is what Javier Tebas saying complete BS? Is there some truth to it? Joan Laporta, please, I beg you, explain. Now, Javier Tebas also talked about the Negreira case, and this is what he had to say. We have asked that the case go to trial because we believe that there is sufficient evidence to determine that FC Barcelona committed a crime of sports corruption with not just the mere offer, but the payment to Negreira with the intention of influencing promotions and relegation. That, in our opinion, is already enough to consider that there is sports corruption. I have said it in several forums, including one in La Vanguardia in Barcelona, and I believe that there are sufficient indications to initiate oral trial. So Javier Tebas speaking about the Negreira case and saying that he believes that there is enough evidence to start a trial against Barcelona for sports corruption, for influence, the promotion, and relegation of referees, which of course is completely inaccurate. It's been 2 years since the investigation has been launched into Barcelona. There has been zero evidence that Barcelona influenced the competition or the referees. There's no evidence that Barcelona bribed any referees through Negreira, and of course there's no evidence that Negreira had any any power in the promotion or relegation of referees. He was one of 5 vice presidents. His title was completely honorary at the CTA. In fact, he didn't even get paid for it. And everyone who worked with him have testified that Negreira had absolutely zero power at the CTA. So there's no way that he had any say in a decision on how to promote or demote referees. And of course, the whole purpose of hiring Negreira was to pay his company, not even him, was so his company can issue refereeing reports for Barcelona, just like all the clubs do in La Liga, where they hire former referees to issue reports on refereeing. And in fact, Barcelona released those reports that they obtained from Negreira's companies a long time ago. But according to Javier Tebas, there is enough evidence, even though, again, the prosecutor's office has said that there's zero evidence of anything. But according to Tebas, there is. Now, Tebas was asked whether Barcelona would be demoted or relegated to second division if they're found guilty of sports corruption. And this is what La Liga president had to say. I don't make the sports laws. I have to comply with what the sports law establishes. In this case, the statute of limitations for crimes is 3 years, and we cannot invent a different statute of limitations. So no, there will be no administrative decrees for this reason. So even if Barcelona are found guilty in a trial for sports corruption, which again, there's zero evidence of anything, of any wrongdoing, Barcelona would still not be relegated because the statute of limitation is 3 years. And since it's been more than 3 years, even if Barcelona are found guilty, they wouldn't be relegated to second or third division or fourth division like a lot of the Madridistas were celebrating when the Negreira case was first announced. Now, speaking of Madridistas, Javier Tebas has actually blasted Real Madrid, or more specifically Florentino Perez, for what has been going on with the refereeing. And this is what La Liga's president had to say. We have had a lot of refereeing controversy in recent weeks from Real Madrid TV. Real Madrid puts the controversy and writes a false story and questioning all football. It is a verbally aggressive and manipulated story. I know a lot of Madridistas who don't agree with Real Madrid, who are a crying club. They're crying all day. They cry for the weekend. They will cry for the following weekend. And it is all the fault of a conspiracy. So Javier Tebas pretty much stated what we all have been thinking for a long time, is that Madridistas is just, they're one big crying club. They cannot accept the fact that they are playing like absolute dog shit, and instead of looking ways on how to play better, they instead cry, they blame referees, they blame everybody else except themselves for playing like crap. And of course, this is nothing new. Real Madrid have been a crying club throughout their entire history. That's why the whole Negreira case exists to begin with, because Madrid could not stand the fact that Barcelona dominated them for so many years. So they had to come up with a Negreira thing in order to justify that, because again, they are a crying club, like Javier Tebas said. But of course, Javier Tebas still reminded us that at the end, he is still Madridista, even if he doesn't agree with what Florentino Perez is saying. And of course, I bring this up because I've seen a lot of Madridistas on social media saying, Javier Tebas, he's an undercover Barcelonista, he likes Barcelona. Again, these people are just stupid. But anyways, this is what Javier Tebas had to say. Florentino's football deceives people. It represents oligarch football. It represents only football for the rich. He wants to decide everything, the money that is distributed. My Madridismo is hibernated, but from time to time, I get blown up. A part of Real Madrid is having the mistake of venerating everything that Florentino does, of saying that everything is fine. Real Madrid should have an independent opinion. I'm happy when Real Madrid wins. I was very happy when Real Madrid won the Champions League. I'm a Madridista, not a Florentinista. So Javier Tebas reminding us, hey, I might be blasting what Madrid are doing because I don't like Florentino, but at the end of the day, I'm still a Madridista. And yes, this is coming straight from the president of La Liga, who's in charge of 42 clubs, 20 in the first division, 22 in the second division. But there's no conflict of interest there. Let's not investigate anything. Let's just turn a blind eye. It's totally normal that the president of La Liga is saying, hey, I'm a Madridista. Anyways, welcome to La Liga, ladies and gentlemen. All right, on to the next bit of news, because, ladies and gentlemen, Robert Lewandowski has sealed his contract renewal after starting yesterday in the match against Las Palmas. Now, Robert Lewandowski signed a 4-year contract with Barcelona, and in that contract, there was a clause that would allow Barcelona to terminate Robert Lewandowski's 4th year if he didn't play at least 45 minutes of 55% of all matches. And well, Lewandowski has reached that figure during yesterday's match against Las Palmas. Now, Barcelona can potentially play 61 matches total this season, 38 in La Liga, 15 in the Champions League, 6 in the Copa del Rey, and 2 in the Spanish Super Cup. Again, I say potentially. Barcelona will play this many matches if they made it to a final of every competition or every knockout competition. And while 55% was 34 matches, and yesterday Lewandowski met that figure, so therefore he will be able to remain for the 4th year of his contract until June of 2026. Now, of course, regardless of whether he had met this number or not, Barcelona had already made their minds that they wanted to keep Lewandowski for the 4th year of his contract. So I guess this is just a formality that confirms that Lewandowski will be here next season. All right, now we will end today's video with the news of a player who won't be in La Liga for next season because, ladies and gentlemen, an agreement has been reached for the transfer of Vitor Roque. Now, as you know, Vitor Roque is currently on loan with Real Betis. It has not worked at Real Betis for him, and therefore Palmeiras have been after the player, trying to convince him to sign for the Brazilian club. At first, Roque was hesitant to go back to Brazil because he saw that as taking a step back, but his loss of minutes at Real Betis after Bakambu took his spot, and now that Real Betis have signed El Cucho Hernandez, Vitor Roque has decided that going back to Brazil and playing for Palmeiras will be the best thing for his career because Palmeiras have offered him a starting role in their project, a project that they hope will be a winning one in the Brazilian league. Now, Palmeiras have offered Barcelona 25 million euros for 80% of the rights of the player, which Barcelona have agreed to. The player has agreed with Palmeiras in regards to his contract, his salary, the length of the contract, etc., etc. So now the only party that remains that hasn't agreed to all of this is, of course, Real Betis, who do have to agree because Vitor Roque is there on loan. He technically is their player until the end of the season, but it's reported that Vitor Roque has personally requested from Real Betis to let him go, to let him leave and go back to Brazil so he can, relaunch his career after a failed, been a year? Yeah, a year after a failed year in Europe. Now, it's reported that Vitor Roque's agent Andre Couri is already in Brazil finalizing all the paperwork for the move of Roque back to his home country. And even though Palmeiras had refused to pay Real Betis, because initially Real Betis were requesting some kind of compensation, Palmeiras said no. So now there is talks about perhaps Real Betis owning a small percentage of any future sales of the player in order to compensate them, because again, they are going to be left without a player. And even though he's a player who hasn't been getting much minutes lately, as I reported in a previous video, El Cucho Hernandez, Real Betis' most recent signing, is not registered in the Conference League. So if Roque leaves, they're only going to have Bakambu as a registered center forward. So looks like one way to compensate Real Betis for this loss will be for them to own a small percentage of any future sales that Vitor Roque. Now, it looks like this deal is going to happen after Roque requested his exit. So now it's a matter of time. And of course, I will be here to let you know once this deal goes through. All right, that is all the news for this video. We'll be uploading another video, so stay tuned to the channel. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment. And as always, VIPC Barça.